Role of marketing as they expected post the lockdown. Once those 3 minutes for each one of them are over, then we engage into deeper discussion on what happens next with various questions from me first. And then, of course, we are expecting questions from all of you, which my colleague Rishi is going to compile and send to me later. So we're looking forward to this great 1.5 hours of interaction. Those of you who can't find a way here, please find a way on FP Live. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. Let me go by the order of the names as I had said. May I request then Mr. Khurana to please take the lead and take his 3 minutes to tell us what he thinks.
Thank you very much, Manish, and hi, good afternoon, everybody. Wonderful panelists, and team, and I'm so happy to be, part of this team. So, Manish, while you were introducing us, you very rightly used a word called disruption, and I think this is something interesting. Each disruption brings around opportunity, and I think this time around, once again, the disruption has brought an opportunity to press the reset button, and we'll have to press the reset button, which apparently we have pressed last time around when demonetization happened, or probably when GST got implemented, or probably when RERA got implemented. We had been in a kind of, now this industry is quite habitual of pressing the reset button. Probably this time around the button is a little, difficult to be pushed around. However, this brings in a lot of opportunity for us at this point of time. A lot of other industries, for example, and I come from a multiple industry background, airline for that matter, or luxury hotels and resorts for that matter, have pressed this kind of reset button in the past, in 2008 when Lehman Brothers happened, and after, and somewhere in 2000, when 9/11 happened, right? And when there was much people were not traveling, and so other industries have pressed this reset button in the past, and they have been beneficial of this. I think time has come for our industry also to look forward for this opportunity, and this is what I can say, to open my discussion, that this is an opportunity time for us, and we should look at very, very positive.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I will next go. I do understand, and I completely agree with you, Pranaji, that we have gone through multiple disruptions, and we've almost got used to handling all of them with all those 3 advents that happened. But I think this 4th one is larger than that. And let's hear what Sunil has to add on this part. Sunil, your 3 minutes, please.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that all of you are holding well and safe and healthy in whatever setup they have at home. Something like this has not been experienced by the industry leaders or leaders in any format of the government across the world. So there is no benchmark, there is no past precedent which one could rely on. And it's a very ambiguous and uncertain scenarios. And I feel that it's all about going to be the transformation and how soon the industries, the countries, and the businesses can basically adapt to this changing environment. And not only adapt, but with the agility which they can, bring this transformation into their lives and in their businesses will be the key factor. The size is not important here, and your transformation and the pace of transformation is going to be very important. The consumer mindsets have changed. My friend here talked about the 2008 scenarios, and earlier also, the real estate industries have gone through ups and downs. It has been the badass. It has been a punching bag. But this time the situation is different. Not only there is a bit of an uncertainty as far economies are concerned, there is a fear of job loss. There is a fear for health. And most importantly, what is different this time, and that is what is going to change the way the companies are going to operate, is this quarantine and social distancing. So it is not like after the lockdown, the businesses would be business as usual. And it will take a while. A lot about this virus is still unknown, We don't know whether there is going to be a second wave, or whether it's going to be a waning and waxing of this viruses. So we need to learn as and when we are going to be faced with the reality. Today, we have a broad concept of reality, which is there in our businesses, which is there in our society to an extent, the country where we live in. But for once, the entire human race is currently connected, and that is the best part of it, to contain and eventually come out of this situation. So those are my initial thoughts on this, and I am going to wish all the success to all the listeners and the businesses as basically we will start unrolling the post-COVID lockdown scenarios.
Yes,
So,
thanks, Sunil. Yes, what keeps me awake, and I'm sure a lot of us, is this the only advent, or are we going to get another wave and another wave and another wave? So yeah, true with that. We'll come back to you very, very soon. But as of now, let me go to my friend Arvind Subramanian. Arvind, you hold a responsibility even larger than just marketing. Please tell us your views on the subject.
Thanks. Firstly, good afternoon to everyone, and I'm really looking forward to this panel discussion. Just to pick up on what Sunil was talking about, and the panel last week, the moderator opened with the question: should we be thinking about a world after Corona or a world with Corona? And I think that's a very deep question, because not so much because the impact of the disease is likely to be long, but more because the consumer behavior and what happens to our industry and many other industries, that impact is going to be irreversible to my mind. I see three highlights that we should perhaps pick on later in our conversation. One, what's going to happen with consumer demand. Two, what's going to happen with sales models. And three, what's going to happen with products. And just to give a teaser on each of these from my perspective, I have a contrarian view to most of the prophets of doom. I think actually demand is going to resurge after the lockdown, and the reason for that is I think the experience people have had during the lockdown has exposed some of the compromises that they're living with, and many people who've been sitting on the fence wanting to buy a home but have not really taken that next step will get prompted to say, okay, enough is enough. I need to get into a better home for my family, for myself, etc. I also think, there's a lot of talk about the future of work, but the flip side of that is the future of living. So you can't think about the future of work and work from home without thinking about the home part of work from home. And therefore that becomes as important. In terms of sales models changing, I'm sure everyone will talk and there'll be a lot of conversation about digital. But it's going to be interesting to see how customer journeys crisscross between the online and the offline world. And it's going to form many different unique paths in our industry. And finally, there's always a twist in the tail in every Sherlock Holmes story. In those cases, it's the villain. But I think in our case, it'll be the hero, and the hero will be product, which, again, not many commentators are talking about enough. But what will happen to the product in a post-corona world? What will customers ask for in terms of product features, amenities, services in their product is going to be markedly different from what we've seen in the past.
Great, Arvind. Thank you so much for those opening comments. And while Arvind and his product is primarily for, if I may say, the great Indian middle class, Soham, your product is typically very, very different. It's premium, it's super luxury at times, office spaces for the absolute, fortunate. How are you seeing this entire thing? How do you see the role of marketing changing? Soham, over to you.
So I think marketing specifically is adaptive, but I'll just quickly take a minute just to sort of analyze the situation.
Sure.
So a lot of people compare this to the global financial crisis in 2008. But I think that was more cyclical and that was bound to happen. And there you could know what the depth of the problem was. Whereas here, I think across the world and India specifically, we were very late in the tooth of the economic cycle. So things that started to improve for the better, the banking crisis had subsided, etc. So this today is a bolt out of the blue and it's difficult to quantify its impact. Having said that, I think India has been relatively insulated with only 33,000 cases and 1 in 24 testing positive. So things are looking good. We have the lowest set of cases per million. And marketing will obviously adapt. But marketing is built on the fundamental premise, where is the demand? And like Arvind rightly said, I think real estate is going to be impacted by pent up demand. It's not like a power distribution company. So if like a factory is shut for 3 months, that demand is gone forever. But if you don't buy a house for 3 months, you're still going to buy a house once things resume. So I'm predominantly bullish. And I would say 3 key trends would emerge with respect to residential real estate specifically. One is I think housing is not going out of fashion. And especially after people have got a belting in their stock market portfolios, people have lost roughly 30 to 50%. Bonds are trading at a discount. Franklin Templeton was an example. Banks are not safe anymore. We saw what happened with the S and PMC. People want an asset that's tangible. So I think there's going to be a migration to that asset class, because not only is it tangible, it protects you against inflation. 2, I think demand will accelerate towards ready inventory, because buyers are going to become more cautious and they're not going to take under construction risk, irrespective of developer. And 3, I think what's becoming very, very important is that any project is self-sustaining. So I think there'll be a migration from standalone buildings to gated communities, because especially in the time of COVID, people don't want to venture outside. Your mall and retail experience on the weekend is going to be curtailed for a while. So the value of having all your amenities within your gated community, I think, is going to become very, very important. And I think with respect to marketing, the dust is going to settle eventually. I think all of us are optimistic. We are in an emerging economy. We just have to wait, and we should be nimble-footed and react adaptively when the opportunity arises.
Wonderful, Swam. I had expected this to come out of you. I know that what a positive person you are anyway. So going on forward from here, I'm taking it to somebody who actually represents a lot of what is called the commoners when it comes to real estate products. A lot of real estate products are sold and are marketed by them, Investors Clinic. I'm talking to Sunny. Sunny bhai, what do you think is going to happen? You represent a lot of middle level, ownership patterns. Kya ho raha hai market mein? What do you think?
So first of all, thank you. I'm so delighted and honored to be a part of this panel. Myself, Sunny Katyal, and I co-founder Investors Clinic, small construction business called Home and Soul, and IC Sati, where we sell real estate through network business as well. So because we deal a lot of developers, because they are our customers, and then we hand over the product, whatever they have to sell. And we have the data point where we meet customers in thousands of number every month, and that helped us to understand what is the market. So I have a couple of practical things to share. First of all, what we did, we are market leaders, and by the grace of God, we are a world record holder also by selling maximum number of properties in a decade. No company in the world have done that. So as a market leader, what we did, we launched 2 beautiful campaigns. Well, but 2 most important is property ki home delivery, where we are saying to our customers, walk in nahi, log in karo na. And we are doing a lot of webinars every week. We are doing almost 20 plus webinar ke through. What we are doing is we are reaching out to all the customers. We have created separate webinar for Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, for international customer, for investors. So that is helping us to reach out to the customer, and trust me, people are buying. You know why? Because what I personally feel, 50% of Indians, they buy when there is a sale happening. Be it Gucci, be it Ferragamo, or be it a Zara, or be it Big Bazaar. So here, what I'm seeing is people, those who are on a step 2, where they decided, yes, I want to buy, and they're looking out for options, and they're still looking out, oh, if there is a good offer, I'll go ahead. So by the grace of God, things are moving towards a direction which we never thought of. And that is a technology platform where we are reaching out to them. Yeah, okay. That's all from my side. Yeah.
Thank you. What I hear from you, Sunny bhai, is there's a lot of conversations with customers that you're doing, which is great. And you're saying that they're responding. And what I hear and what I take back home is the fact that India is an offer-driven economy. So when they feel their offer is there or for the take, they'll in fact respond better. Okay, great. We move on to the last, and of course not the least, Nitin. Nitin, you are again dealing with the mid-level of the market, not the most uber premium, but definitely not only the affordable part. What's your view around the changing face of marketing? This new system that is going to set after we get back to our offices?
So, good evening, everyone. I think we all know nobody has experience of handling the current situation of COVID-19, be it in real estate or any other industry. This happened and this came from nowhere. Nobody expected and nobody was prepared for it. And nobody, I think, is still prepared for it. Everyone is learning every day and strategies changing depending on the situation. However, in our industry, we have to continue selling flats, inventories, what we have. So we have to start marketing it, definitely keeping and changing certain strategies. I believe we have to do all these things keeping the customer in mind, because we have to ensure that ultimately at the end of the day the customer is satisfied. You know, uh, there are few questions which comes in people's mind when they buy apartment. Budget क्या होगा, location क्या होना चाहिए, स्कूल होगा वहाँ पे कि नहीं होगा, construction under construction है कि ready है, amenities है कि नहीं है. These are the basic questions which people have in mind, which is very normal. But what is important, and which I think few of the customers also have these things in mind, what is important is who's the developer. That is something which is very, very important for all of us, all the customers who are buying, to keep in mind the brand basically of a developer is very, very important, and this will play a very important role going forward. I mean, this had always played an important role, but I think today is a time, even after where RERA is there, still brand will play a very important role. And as I said, that there could be two developers in the same location having same configurations, but their strategy will be very different. So everything is very subjective, but I think brand will play a very, very important role.
Fantastic. With a lot of questions on what you. But first, I'm going to Sunil, and I will then take this question forward to many of you. Do you think the consumer behavior is going to significantly change once they come out of this lockout? Sunil.
So, see, I mean, real estate has been a very unique industry, in the sense like the behavior of the consumer in a real estate industry is very different than what you will find in a commodity market. The nature of the business is as such, because it is a capital intensive. There are long-term commitments which is required from the producers as well as the people who are investing in this property. Another aspect is also a lot of emotion basically rides onto this particular category. The third important thing is that the long gestation period, from the time you contract or get into contract to buy a property till the time the product is actually delivered is a gestation period of 3 to 4 years. So a consumer goes through a lot of anxiety and emotions during this entire buying experience. And while we have seen that thanks to technology and thanks to RERA, the consumer confidence in trying to bring him up to the speed as far as real estate is concerned. So we have seen that almost 60-70% of the journey is actually starting on online. But these kind of a journey is only currently getting restricted to property search, where the consumers are basically zeroing down on their preferred set of options and the brands whom they would like to have conversations with. And the balance is actually online. So there is a huge dependency as on today for consumer to still feel comfortable in what they are dealing with. Especially if you look at last 3 years, there has been a lot of launches, and the volumes have come from the launches. The ready to move in property or nearly going to ready properties are seeing challenge as far as the volumes are concerned. So from a behavior perspective, another important thing what we are seeing is that though the journey is starting where the brand and the consumers are in direct conversations, but when it comes to the last mile and when they want to do the transaction, we are seeing the consumer still needs or relies on a channel partner or an advisor or a friend who can help him take this decision. So the consumer behavior has changed, but what is happening is also there's a great opportunity to take the conversations uh, of our product and the offering into the living rooms of the consumer, where he's safe and he's comfort to have that conversations. And earlier it was like voice first, right? So now the voice has been replaced by video first. And generally what happens, the gestation times are between from the time a person decides to buy into a property and actual transaction is like 5 months, because he basically goes through different touch points to evaluating a decisions, which can go from 60 days to 90 days. However, here there's an opportunity to write, condense that time and give that all the information what is required for the consumer to make an informed decision. So a couple of things which comes to my mind is that we need to be mindful that we should not be coming out as opportunistic and very transactional in these conversations with the consumers. We need to be have a lot of empathy with our consumers in our conversations, and we need to give them a certain amount of time period where they become comfortable with their decision to own a house. So if you would have see, and my colleagues on the panel will agree that most of the inventories which has been sold in the last 2-3 years have been where there is an expression of interest initially sourced by the consumer, and then there is a gestation period of almost 45 days 50 days for him to actually transact with you. I think in today's time, the way the markets are and how the economies and the society will open up with the constraint, I think the way companies can go about or can go about having this launches is going to get changed. So a lot of these things will happen virtual launches, and technology would play a very important role, and adaptation of that technology as the centerpiece of the conversation with the customer is exalted and is the need of the hour. So you have to invest in technology and also skill your own salespeople so that they have the right skill sets, identify the gaps and provide them the training so that they are coming out comfortable in the conversation with the consumer. So that's where I think the markets have moved. The markets are going to be moving towards transformation. The markets are going to move towards virtual platforms, more importantly. And here is an opportunity. So today what happens that look at this platform. You have people joining in from Delhi. You have got people joining from different parts of the city. So the tools like webinar, video conferencing actually needs to be used in your conversation with your consumer. And as I told, real estate is basically where you tend to seek advice from the people who had an experience with the brand where you intend to purchase, or people who are in the industry who have been a mature buyer in the real estate. So I can basically, in a simple frame of video conferencing, I can actually target and bring in the end consumer who is talking to us. I can pull in his relatives, or I can pull in his relatives or his advisor on the same platform and compress that entire call where I can address the entire concerns with the consumer might have.
Sorry, can't hear you.
Can you speak a bit louder, Manish? I can't hear you.
I'm saying I'm anyway going to deep dive into the digitization part of it, because that's a very important part. But a little later, I'm going to come to that. But I wanted to travel with the question back to you, and I want to also ask, while at the end of the lockdown, we will be ready as developers, we all know that, right? We'll be happy to jump into the market. Will the consumer be ready? Or will she be confused? Or will she be holding on? Or will she be questioning? What is going to happen there? Are the behavior patterns going to change? Could you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, we could hear you, Manish.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry, I'm saying, I just traveled with a question to you, Arvind. I'm saying, while we'll be ready to go to the consumer, will the consumer, she will be ready to come to us? Is she confused? Is she anxious? She'll wait and watch. What is going to happen post-lockdown? Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, great question. I think also just to add to something to what Sunil was saying, we talk a lot about consumer behavior and how we respond to it, but a lot of the consumer behavior is also shaped by the seller behavior. And if we had to be perfectly candid or even self-critical, as an industry, we've become very formulaic in how we sell these products. Sunil referred to the expressions of interest. It's starting to be used pretty much as a standard piece of any launch, right? Every launch is an expression of interest launch, book, build a book, then allot, etc. And that's just one example. This whole mindset around site visit karana hai. The whole system is geared towards site visit kara. That is the objective function of sales more often than not, particularly during a launch. But really, what is the purpose of that? Because yes, that it gives the customer a bit of a look and feel of the place, but very often the show flat they are seeing is not the apartment they're buying, either in terms of the configuration or certainly not in terms of the fit out that they're seeing. So it's a little bit of a mirage that we are creating. And of course, one has to create that to entice the customer. But can we break out from that? And then, to bridge to your question, what are customers now going to be looking for? And will they even be willing to come to site? As I mentioned in my opening comments, I actually believe, and I think Soham said this as well, that there's going to be a pent-up demand which will get released once the lockdown opens. A lot of customers who've been fence sitters, who've been in the consideration kind of stage, will now commit to buying. That commitment to the actual purchase may still take 3 months, 6 months, even longer, because this is a highly researched product. It's a very deliberate purchase. It's not an impulse purchase. So it's not that, there will be many categories where customers, as soon as the lockdown is lifted, will go out and say, okay, let me go and have a haircut. Let me go and have a shave, which most of us are unable to do during this lockdown. But this home buying is not that. Right? So there will be still a lot of consideration, a lot of research, but I do believe that the demand will come back and the customer will be far more discerning about what they're looking for. It's not just how many square feet at what price per square foot anymore. It is, like many of the other panelists said, what does the product contain? What are the amenities? Is it a gated community? Am I self-sufficient? Is my family safe? All of that is going to become far more important. They were always there, but they were somewhere lower in the consideration set, and it was always, the purchase was dominated very often by location, and price and location were almost perfectly correlated. So location, price, square feet was kind of 80% of the decision basket. I think that is going to broaden quite significantly.
But will they be hearing conversations? Are they open to brand conversations, you think? And I'm talking short term for a minute. I know that there is a long term out there and there's no question about it. But in the very short term, what do we expect?
So even in the short term, look, we've been reaching out to all of our customers just to check in on them, check in on their well-being. And even through those conversations, we are getting a sense that people are receptive. They don't want to be necessarily sold to at this point of time. But they are receptive to good ideas, good propositions. As I said, it doesn't mean that they will issue a check tomorrow, but they are willing to have those conversations.
Okay, I'm coming. I'll hold that one right now, and I'm coming to you, Soham and Kulwantji, both of you, with one question, and that question originates from our earlier panel. Nayan Bhai from My Fair said, "Abhi life संभालेंगे लोग, lifestyle नहीं." They are looking for life, not lifestyle. Now, both of you are into lifestyle products. Both of you actually sell that. What's your thought? Kulwantji, first you and then Soham. You sell something very, very extraordinary. In fact, I do know that some of the products that you have are probably 4 or 5 times, if not, I'm not exaggerating, priced versus somebody else. What's going to happen?
So I was reading an article some time back, and it said that whenever we have in US, whenever we have this hurricane and storms come, so Walmart typically through the artificial intelligence, they stock up their various stores, and some of the things which people buy during these times are one is rope, torches, and the third thing was blueberry cake. Yeah, so I was trying to understand why people want to stock up blueberry cake before Katrina is coming, and so we'll have to understand everything from a customer psychology perspective, and it's not that simple, right? we see the stock market coming down, and we see the impact of COVID onto the business. But there is a customer who's thinking that यार मेरे पास में यही life है यार. Can I upgrade my lifestyle, and can I provide whatever my family deserves in this lifetime? And I kind of derive my equation from that blueberry cake, blueberry tart example. And during these times, in last a month or so, believe you me, Manish, I have seen people, the number of inquiries as far as the luxury property have actually come up. We could manage to sell few properties also, and probably there was a reason there is a need, the hidden need within the people that look, I wanted to do this, and I think this is time to do this.
So, Kulwantji, very straight question. You don't fear that this will probably, in the very short term, wipe out this entire thing? The luxury.
I do fear. I'll be, I'll be true to you that I do fear, but this short term is not more than a quarter for me.
Okay, quarter. I learned that.
And I would really want to go by what Soham said initially, that India is not as affected as other countries, and we are a consumption-led economy, right? So obviously for a short term there would be impact, but going forward beyond a quarter, and so I do not see a major impact coming on us.
Okay, I'm going to take the same question, Soham, to you, as I warned you before. What do you see happening? You're selling flats of 4 crores, 10 crores, 20 crores as well. Tell me what's happening there, or what do you expect happening there?
I would like to break this up into two parts.
Yeah.
We have the short term, and then we have the intermediate to the long term.
Right.
So in the short term, my definition of the short term is lockdown ends. So, and then a quarter after the lockdown ends. So in the short term, what I see is that, with interest rates at being record low, like, the repo is 4.4 and you're getting a home loan at 7.5%. It's a big trigger for an affordable housing, guys. So the sub 2 crore ticket size, where 90% of the consideration comes in by a home loan, to trigger a purchase. Simply because a 100 bips reduction in a home loan gives you like 24 lakhs off on a 1 crore loan over the tenure of a loan. So the saving is tremendous. And because the guy is at home, he values a home more. Whereas if you look at the guy at the upper end of the segment, say someone who's north of 5 crores, I think that sort of demand will stay muted in the first quarter and start coming back towards the end of the year. Because these guys tap into their savings pool to buy a home, and there's lesser portion of the consideration comes by way of a home loan. And because they've got hammered in the capital markets, they want to wait for some time before they take such a big purchase. The desire is there, the intent is there, the demand is there at the back of the head, but it won't translate into a transaction immediately. So overall, I'm bullish, but I don't think it's right to paint all asset classes with the same brush.
I like your answer, Swam. I understand where you're coming from. And let me take a very different question, actually, to both Nitin, and then later to Sunny, because Sunny also represents various kinds of classes on this one, on sales. But do you see yourself changing quite a bit, Nitin, in your marketing stance to your customers? Is there something else happening altogether versus what it used to be? Are you in your war rooms right now talking about it? Or are you saying, let's see how it comes and let's not hurry up to anything? Would like to know where you are.
So as we all discussed that, things will change. It's not going to be easy. Selling real estate never easy. It's going to be a little difficult now, no doubt about it. But I'm sure in next 2-3 months there will be a change in terms of the approaching the market, changing the marketing strategy. Because with this COVID-19, I think there will not be people who would want to really step out of their houses, and there will be people who would still be interested but will be worried about, should I go now? Is it important? Is the price going up? What am I losing? Can I wait? Should I wait? Many questions in mind. So we have to now, yes, we have to be very aggressive on digital platform right now, because that is something which we all have understood with the way things are going. But at the same time, I believe when you said approach, I don't think that will be a major change, because as a developer, it all depends on who you are. and what kind of project and what kind of configurations you have and what product you have to offer. So luckily, with our 30 years of experience, which with more than 10 million square feet delivered, we have that brand and experience with us where we can, probably say that, hey, we are able to sell. But things will change. That is something which we have to, take it for granted for a couple of months. We have to give that confidence to the customer that, hey, RERA is there. RERA, I think when RERA came, a lot of developers were really worried. But I think as those we were very happy about RERA coming in, because that gave a lot of confidence to the customer. When today a customer buys, he at least knows that when the delivery of the product will be given. So that is done. So today, when he's buying, we have to now give them that assurance that, look, whatever we had committed in past, we have delivered. Look at our past projects. And now also, we will ensure that that is maintained. So I think, and looking at the quality of construction, what we have delivered in past, stage of construction of our current projects, the kind of ticket size which is there also matters a lot in today's time. So, while we were doing a lot of webinar, we also got in touch with a couple of financial institutions, and we got to know that we wanted to understand, basic inquiry kahan hai, home loan ki inquiry ho rahi ki nahi ho rahi. So we were given example that, look, inquiries are going up during such period, but the major inquiries are for the ticket size or the home loan application right from 30 lakhs to 1.25 crore. So that is the band which probably may move little faster as compared to probably a 3 or a 4 or a 5 crore.
So will you upfront that right now with your sales guys? Will you tell them to talk and concentrate only on that right now? Then
today we have product right from 36, 38 lakhs, right up to 1.75 to 1.80. And this is what we have today with us. Major inventories are in that ticket size. And keeping in mind the way things are going, we are changing the pitch, and we have to today, highlight few things. Like Swam said, the rate of interest today is 7.5%, which is like 13 or 14 years low, which is very, very important. So rather you buying an apartment, rather you renting an apartment, it makes more sense for you to buy an apartment. So we have to now highlight these things, change little strategy, educate more. Customers are really educated, but when they search and research on online, they also get confused. We have come across customers where they are little confused when they are on the verge of closing. They suddenly Google something and they say, hey, let us wait for a couple of days. So I think we have to educate the customers very well and be upfront and transparent as we can be. Obviously, digital will play an important role going forward.
सनी भाई, मुझे मालूम है आप दिल्ली वाले हो, मुझे भी मालूम है हनी भाई थोड़े दिलेर आदमी हो, but let's get down to basics. I know that you said that there are sales happening, etc. But will you, because you have long-term relationship with your developer friends and you are a developer yourself because of Home and Soul, please tell me, post-lockdown, will you tell your developer friends to wait for the next launch, or will you tell them to go ahead with the launch?
Yeah, I think this is not the best time to launch a product. But yes, almost 90% of the developers, they are sitting on some inventories, which is like near to possession or ready to move in or under construction product. And most of the developers, they are launching the same product with different schemes, with good payment plan. Like I'll share a couple of stories with me also. So what we did after the COVID thing happened, we reached out to developer because we cannot sit back and, because we are a 2,000 people organization, 1,500 people in sales, 500 support system. Lot of crores in salaries, that too, it's a tough job to maintain all. Yes, so we reached out to developer and we created a couple of beautiful schemes. Like right now we're giving insurance to the customer. So what we said is, okay, customer ko aaj ye dar hai ki that, property will go further down because they're thinking that like the share market, it doesn't stop. So it went pretty bad. So if I'm getting a 15% or a 10% discount, maybe it will go to 20-25%. So what we started doing is we talked to the developer, okay, and we said, okay, we are giving you a money insurance. So this price, if this goes further down, you will get that price. So this is one thing where the customer will have the confidence. Second, the insurance of the money. So we're doing a lot of beautiful schemes where we said, okay, you're paying this much money. and you will have some XYZ days, after the lockdown to decide on the product. And if you doesn't like after the site visit, so this is a COVID scheme kind of a thing. You buy it, you take it, you just book it. If this goes up, you buy it. You go for a site visit, you like it, okay, wonderful, you go ahead. If you doesn't like, there is always option of exiting. But the good part which happened in recent times is, there are thousands and lakhs of customers where we are not able to reach out to them. Now we are able to reach out to them. We are building beautiful technologies to show them whatever they want to see to decide the apartment, in the safe place where they are sitting at home. And we are creating beautiful, video thing, graphics to show them. And the market is opening. And the best part which is happening now is, especially the budget housing, and everybody quoted that, uh, uh, the budget housing part where 7.5% approximately on a housing loan, it is a beautiful thing. People, those who want to buy, they think, I think this is the best time to buy. And even on the luxury segment, there are lakhs of and crores of people, they will, lose their job across the world. And I'm sure they will come back to India. The biggest problem for India is that the best brains goes out and they serve the whole world. Fortune 500 companies, they will come back to their home and they will buy premium properties also. Maybe not in a single day or a month or so, but over the period you will see an upward trend towards the luxury property also.
So, Arvind, what I'm hearing, and somehow good for you for sure, is that there is a so-called great divide between the what will move and what will may or may not move in short term. And assuming that you're on the side of what will move, Arvind, now let me come to the question which I think everybody's hinting at. This whole digitization bit, how much of it is it's a general talk, and how much of it is really being followed by companies? Is there a possible model of selling through digital, through and through? I run a digital company myself within Alchemist called Dotwise. And one of the key questions our clients keep asking is how to, but they're not able to move forward. What's happening in that zone, Arvind, in your mind? And I want you to speak for the industry and not just for yourself.
Yeah, look, I think it's a very important question for us to address. Most of us have got the lead generation piece of it in place.
Yes.
We use digital, we use performance marketing to drive leads. And as I said, the objective function has been drive a site visit, because that is what creates attribution for the channel or for the source. Once that is done, it's like Rumal Raktiya kind of behavior. So that piece I think is okay. But taking that forward to say, okay, in a post-COVID world, if customers are either reluctant to come to a site, or you can't accommodate more than a certain number of customers at a site given social distancing norms, how do you give them an experience of the product from a distance? So there are technologies that exist. We've all dabbled in them, VR, AR, etc. But getting our act together, training our salespeople on how to conduct a virtual meeting is a new skill set, and we need to be able to do that. Customers will be experiencing this in most cases on their mobile phone. Most of them will not have laptops, desktops, large screen devices. So how do you render your content on a mobile format in a way that is consumable by the customer and still excites them as much as they would be excited on a site visit? Take that one step forward. Suppose they're interested. How do you transact digitally? Do you have a digital signature capability to do application form signing online? Do you have payment gateways tied up to do payment collections online? Is the customer comfortable in doing that? And then the place where really the cracks start appearing is completion of the transaction in terms of registering the property and going through with a mortgage. Right? Recently, last week, the Maharashtra government has relaxed the e-registration norms. Interestingly, these e-registration norms have been there for more than 5 years now. But less than 5% of properties have been registered electronically because of a bunch of issues around the restrictions that they had, the fact that they insisted you had to ride on a BSNL network. We all know how poor that service is, etc. They've relaxed some of those norms, so hopefully it will see an uptake. But even today, mortgage companies tell us that I need wetting signature on my mortgage application form, etc. Apparently, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently NHB does not allow them to do digital signatures. without that, you're stuck, right? You can do everything else, but if you can't get the mortgage done electronically, then
You're stuck.
You're stuck. So all of this needs to be stitched up for us to be truly digital end to end. Now, also, let's think about other categories that have gone through this journey before us, right? We think we are a very high involvement category, but other categories have done it. Durables has done it. Auto has done it, etc. So what have they done to enable this to happen? They've done either, like Sunny said, certain pricing benefits and innovations, but also things like product returns. Right? So do we need to consider a free look period, just like the insurance industry is now mandated to give? Saying you don't like it, you can return it in 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. Do we need to consider payment plans that are less front-ended? Now that has deep economic implications for us because our economic cycle is based on collections from the customer. You sell well at launch, you collect money from the customer as you construct. That is how the economics of this business is built. So if we can't rely on that, we need to find some other ways to bankroll our project. So these are very deep questions. It's not enough to just say, okay, I've added a .com to my kind of capabilities and I'm done.
True that. In fact, today itself there was an InShot, right, where we see that the entire revenue stream for Maharashtra or Mumbai has come down when it comes to the booking to the registration has come down to what 0.0001% because
Yes.
it's 45,000 odd that has been booked this month.
Yeah.
That's very, very odd because while you can do everything that you want, if you can't register, then where are you going?
Yeah.
Are we going closer to the EOI dream? That's where it is.
Yeah.
Good. Nitin, is there something that you or contemporary companies like you, which large stakes across land banks in a particular city, doing around this in the digitization part? Lead generation, fine, but after that, what? Is there something genuinely happening there, or is it still hogwash, or is it still that the people are still wondering what to do with it? It's like a new toy.
Interesting, Manish. So I was too tempted to answer this, and I was thinking that I hope this question comes to me.
I did.
Manish, I think buying a house is still a very emotional process as far as the Indians are concerned.
Okay.
Maybe if you go abroad, maybe people will take a home on rent online. They will probably book apartment online. If you see right from Zomato or Swiggy has started recently, but I think buying a house is a process, and it's a very emotional where they want to go and feel the place. Every customer who wants to probably buy or invest, be it 10 lakh or 2 crore or 50 crore, they want to go and have a feel of the place. Even though you tell him there is nothing, there is only a barrel land, but all approvals are in place, he still wants to come and see it physically to the site. So coming back on digital, we might still take little time to reach that stage where people will start booking online and giving checks. Probably that has started right now, but that would be hardly 2% or 3% here and there is what I feel. So you can generate leads, but closing, I think will, with keeping COVID-19 in mind, I think that will be a challenge where, we will have to think of a strategy where one, yes, giving experience sitting at home is fine. I'm sure we all have been doing that. Schemes, we all were doing subvention schemes, 199, 10, 90, we were all doing that. So, as Sunny said, some kind of protection plan, kuch na kuch customer ko dena chahiye, which we've been doing it. But right now, situation is very different. I may be able to generate lead. What do I do after that? Customers still feel. So there are two questions which customers will still have in mind. Will the price go down? Why should I buy now? Am I in hurry? I think I want to probably say this. This is my personal statement where I think most of the developers have reached the bottom today. So chances of the prices to go down further is not possible, not practical, because of the be it GST, demonetization, VERA, XYZ. Today we have reached a stage where it's already at a bottom. So coming back, we can generate leads. We have to educate customers and tell reasons why the prices will not come down, and our product will speak. There will be a limitation beyond a point where on digital you can do. Right now, looking at the way our country is, looking at the way the process is, as Arvind said that probably e-registration was there in the system from past 5 years, but people actually wanted to go physically and do, and always there was a limitation. सो मनीष, मेरा कहना ये है कि एक लिमिटेशन होगा, आप कस्टमर को एक्सपीरियंस दे पाओगे, आप कस्टमर को टेम्प्ट कर पाओगे, यू मे बी एबल टू जनरेट दैट लीड, बट द क्लोजर will need a different skill set altogether. Digital probably will have some role, major role, but at the end we need a physical one-to-one, the way I see it, at least for the next 6 months.
Let me drill that a little deeper. So are you saying that we're going to witness a lot of what you could call see online, buy offline kind of a model, which prevails in a lot of other sectors, just like others said right now? Is that what is going to be?
No. So I believe there is a lot of inquiries which have been generating through online. So we all have been spending money. We will continue doing that. We will give a different experience altogether once again to the customer, so that he is able to experience sitting at home. But actually, when the time comes for him to pay the money and block the apartment, which is very important, ultimately we all are working towards that goal. That is something probably it will take a little more time for the customer to take decision online. They would still prefer, I believe, I may be wrong, they would still prefer to actually come to the site. So, probably that is what I meant.
Soham and Kulwant, is that even more true for you, that they will still like to come to the site and not come to any buying decision, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 on the net digitally?
Manish, before you do so, I'm saying that bookings may happen online. I'm not saying no, but the percentage will be very less as compared to what our expectation is.
Okay.
I think Arvind answered this question very eloquently, and he broke up the process very nicely. But the way I see it is that a lot of the buying experience would happen online, like Nitin rightly said, and the customer will probably zero down on a property. But just given the magnitude of the decision buying a house is, I don't think someone's going to cut the single biggest check of their life for most people without actually seeing the apartment. So yes, online will simplify things. The post CRM process can happen. If e-registration happens, that will make things simpler. VR, AR, MR tours can happen online. The technology is available. But ultimately, finally, it's an emotional decision. Family is involved. They need to go and see the house. They need to evaluate 2 or 3 projects. It's also an outing on the weekend for the family. So I think maybe now because of COVID, some EOIs, etc., will happen online just because of the constraints of the lockdown. But I think once things settle down, people will eventually visit the site before buying an apartment.
Kulwanji, you see any difference between, you've been both in Mumbai and Delhi. Do you see any difference in the buyer behavior, the consumer behavior, in particular lens from the digital angle?
No,
in Delhi and Mumbai?
No, not really. I mean, consumer, irrespective of whichever state or whichever geography he comes from, he rightly said by Soham, probably he is writing down the biggest check of his life. So the behavior doesn't change. The only difference, I think, the behavior will change that how much time he would like to spend outside his living room. That is the only behavior, will change. In the past, we have seen that customer used to do some bit of research in terms of understanding various competing products and the area and the location, what the customer is planning to buy. And then ultimately he used to go back to my friends like Sunny Katyal and ask him to kind of source a right product for,
correct.
And then approximately something like 80% of the time he used to spend with Sunny going out, visiting various competing products, making comparable charts and so on and so forth, and then zeroing down on 1 or 2, then making a revisit along with the family and father-in-law, and then deciding a product. I think this will change, wherein 80% of the time on various competing products he will spend in his living room along with team from Sunny. Because now not only the customer behavior will change, I think my channel partners behavior will also change. And in terms of usage of technology, and I really like what Sunny said, that walk in nahi, log in karo. So this is something very, very interesting, and I have found.
He didn't say karo, he said karo na.
Karo na. So walk in nahi,
I'm going to come back to that one later, Sunny. I have it in the mind.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. Yeah. So the behavior of all the stakeholders will change, right? And I will change for that matter, and for that matter, my customer will have to change, and my associates will change. So 80% of the time, I think he will be spending in his living room. He will zero down on 1 or 2 products, go and visit the site, And that could not be multiple visit. It could be one single visit, like what Sunil was telling that we used to have gestation period of 3 to 4 months. I think that gestation period probably will now come down, and the first visit closures will probably happen more. And also at the same time, then there could be a possibility that he would like to give a check when he comes and visits me, or then he says, okay, fine, I have seen the property. When I go home, I will transfer the money through online mediums.
Okay.
So that could be the journey I see going forward in future.
Sunil, a quick one to you, Sunil. I don't know whether you heard this or no, but I'm hearing a lot of talk around digital, but not on digital, and how, I mean, we keep talking about this new normal. But in this new normal, are we real estate people ready to jump deep in and say, okay, I'm going to prevail, actually give that experience and somehow going to convert him also largely there, if not completely there? Do you see that happening, or do you not see that happening? We are still far away from here, because while we are a great industry, one of the things I've noticed in marketing is that we are a laggard. We actually follow after a while. Do you see that changing?
Actually, we are experiencing that, because we did a reasonable amount of business in the 1 month of the lockdown, where we were able to have meaningful conversations with our consumers through video conferencing, and not only also bring along the channel partners into that conferencing and in the conversations. So it is not about question of whether, it is a necessity which the real estate industry has to adapt, and the sooner they adapt and bring in the technology in the forefront of their selling, will basically carve the path of which brands will emerge as stronger when the rebound happens. The second part of the question which you had asked was about the consumer. Now, look at it, during the lockdown, the consumer is also acquiring new skills and new behavior. For example, currently we are having this web conference, right? I have not attended much web conference in my past. I used to have face-to-face meeting. So many from work from home has pushed consumers and people to adapt and bring technology into living room. So I think we should take this advantage of the positive behavior which the consumer is exhibiting, and real estate being a laggard, but I think that is no excuse. We need to hold the bull by the horns and bring technology into the core of what we're doing it. And consumer mindset is there. So if we can give a right environment for him to be comfortable with the virtual environment and the selling propositions and the offering which he's hearing from various brands, you will surely see success. Arvind also touched upon that in the past, and I just want to elaborate that over the last 3 years or so, a lot of these transactions have been sold with the banking aided schemes. So it is very important to make sure that not only the selling environment is complete, but then the associated services which comes into completing this entire buying experience from a consumer point of view, from a mortgage perspective, from a registration perspective, all these needs to be also integrated into your selling platform. So some of these capabilities companies can develop internally, but then there are certain regulatory things which we would look to the government to allow e-registrations. You can use Adobe to edit a document and signatures, but at the end of the day, the document is only worthwhile when it's registered, and that's an enforceable contract for me to get any leverage out of that contract with the consumer. So there is a support industry and the support services which also needs to mature and support the real estate industry. Real estate industry by itself can do a bit, but there are other support factors which are important from a real estate buying experience perspective.
So, okay,
if I could just interject, I just wanted to make one point in response to, there have been lots of questions on the chat window, which I have open, around how can we sell without a site visit? I just want to remind people, take yourself 15 years back, you would have asked the question, how can I open a bank account without going to the branch? We would have asked the question, how can I buy a car without visiting the dealership? Today, you don't even think of that.
You don't.
Consumer
you already got the car in your head before you go to just pick it up.
Yeah, in fact, the car comes here, right? They do the test drive at your house. You don't go to the. I don't know which dealership I last visited. So, what consumer behavior when it changes, memories fade very quickly.
And just to add to what Arvind was saying, today most of the projects have used the drone technology to its full capability. So I can give a very fantastic understanding and holistic understanding about the location of the projects, the dynamics of the social infrastructure in those locations, and which are the basic criterias in the initial considerations set for the consumer to be familiarizing. So while I said that we have had success in the last 1 month as far as logging in sales are concerned, but these I should admit that these conversations have been with consumer who had a certain amount of touch points with us. They were familiar with the location, they were familiar with the landscape of the competition, and those were the people whom we were able to build on the conversations and get them to transact. But I think the challenge is that how do we get these new consumers as going forward in the certain market where people may not be very free to come out of their home. They will not perhaps give you the time. And please also understand that in cities like Bombay, the most of the time the customer experience site and the building which is under consideration for the consumer is in the same environment. So the challenge for the developers as such is also to maintain the safety aspect in under construction sites where we are also going to get the consumers to come. So it's a unique challenge. Each city will have its own challenges. A city like down south where the access you have access to a large parcel of land where the capital values are not high as what you see in some of the metro markets. You can have an experience site which is kind of distant from the construction site. So it's no choice. You have to just adapt, transform rapidly to this new reality, and this is going to be the norm.
Okay, Sunil, we asked a question to our audiences before we asked them this to you, so it should not hopefully change your mind. But I'm asking all of you who play this dual role of sales and marketing, and a lot of them are here, and I'm going to do almost a rapid fire. I want to understand that this role of sales and marketing that you used to play so far, do you believe, one, it has been changing or it will change in the future far more towards sales orientation, far more towards marketing orientation, or far more towards, let's say, getting involved in the product stage itself? And I want some quick and frank answers on that. When I'm starting with you, Arvind, what do you think will happen to the role of the CSMO or the CMO?
Well, it appears I had the question paper in advance because I said this in my opening comments. I think product is going to be a big area of work for all of us because unless you get the product right, you can do a lot of things on pricing and promotion, and you can get it wrong, you can correct yourself. But if the product is wrong, you can never get success.
But so far, what I know, and I may be wrong, but I deal with a lot of marketing heads, they don't get involved in the product stage. They're told to sell something which is already there or communicate some fancy messaging around it. Am I right, Arvind? Truly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the big shift that we are going to make as an industry, where
that is the
marketing
big
is going to play a central role in product definition.
Okay. Kulwanji, you think that's your role, you're playing various roles in the company. Which role will come to the forefront now?
So I not only look after kind of sales and CRM and marketing and product development, interact with architects to get the right product on the table. So I think the role would be result oriented rather than marketing oriented or sales oriented. Whatever gives me the result, that would be the key. And I think check on the table is much more important rather than any other fact. And that is what we will be looking at.
So I'm hearing more of product and sales from you, sir.
Absolutely.
Pick up, right? That's
Absolutely.
what it is.
Absolutely.
Nitin, your view, please.
So I agree with Arvind. Product and definitely the brand will play an important role. But at the same time, I think marketing and sales may go hand in hand. At the end, what is important? Both are important, but at the end, what is important is sale. So I think sale will probably have a slightly more weightage where people like us will have to fold our sleeves and sit with the customers, which we've been doing, and maybe sell a ticket size of 30 lakhs or 40 lakhs, just give a comfort and sit across and get into sales.
Soham, you are a developer yourself. You are the management of
I
your
also
company.
want to probably add that what is happening in marketing, there are different sources of marketing which we all are doing. We are doing print, we are doing hoardings, we are getting leads through print, hoarding, digital, but we also have a channel partner friends who are getting a lot of walk-ins and inquiries to us. So I think what is also important right now, looking at the stage, is that these walk-ins may come, but ultimately what is important is the conversion today.
Uh, okay, got it. So I'm coming to you, and so I use this in my earlier panel as well. But in my industry, which is a people in people oriented industry, where 90% of my costs are people, we talk about the fact that HR is too important to be done by HR guys. As a
Right.
developer, if you were to take that one thing in your hand, what will it be? Will it be sales? Will it be marketing? Will it be product? What will it be that you will concentrate far more post-COVID time?
So let me answer this question first and then jump to the second question. I think sales and marketing are part of the same coin. It's difficult to separate the two because marketing creates the funnel. So if you don't put the food on the table, there's no way you can eat it. So leads need to keep flowing in. From the product perspective, like Arvind said, real estate is an immovable asset. Once you build, once you design, it's irreversible. So getting the product right front up, absolutely important, because you build the wrong thing, it's not going to sell at any price. From a developer perspective, I'd say the most important thing, finally, this is a capital intensive business. And this is a business where you are rewarded more for timing the cycle rather than being efficient, because disproportionate returns are there. So buying land at the right cost and sanitizing the right approvals, like it's been in the olden days, I think are going to stay true to the trade and remain to be like key, salient, differentiating, wealth creating factors in the business.
So if you have to concentrate your time into something, you'll be into sourcing, you'll be into product. Am I right?
I think getting the right deal done, like fine, if your entry cost is good, you can survive any storm. If you have enough margin of safety, it's finally an investment at the end of the day. Yeah.
So let's now shift over to the last one who I want to ask this question to, and before I go back to Sunny Bhai on a different question altogether. But Sunil, which hat will you wear more now among the various roles that you play?
I think today it's important that we have a lot of communications around the brand. So I would rather have conversations going around the brand, because as I had mentioned, there's a huge gestation period between the point of contract and the delivery, and there would be the flight for quality and delivery. So and the trust factors are more. So my basically hat is to build the brand, communicate what the brand is all about, communicate your purposes, take actions, and demonstrate thing which is in line with what the brand stands for. And at the same time, sales, whatever conversations you're hearing from the sales, so based on their conversation with the channel partners and end users during this time, bring that into innovation through consumer experience. So it has to go hand in hand, but I feel right now the need of the hour is to stay true to your brand, and as I said, empathize with your consumers. Markets will open up, and I think the brands which are stronger will have a lot of business coming its way. At the same time, from a sales perspective, cash flows are important. I think the launches are going to take some time, the new launches. So I would rather have my hand on the pie where the collections are coming in. There is better consumer engagement through my consumer management platforms. So those are the areas where we are going to focus
Sunil,
on.
I think
there's
the
a
audience
clear.
agrees with you. The audience is slightly more in agreement with you on the looks like they say that the marketing communication role of the CSMO will become probably slightly more important. But we had some wonderful different kinds of thoughts on this one. I'll park this question and move on to the next one, which goes straight to Sunny Katyal. Sunny, tell me one thing. We are talking to some very big developers, and they're talking about digital and digitization of the product through and through, etc., etc. A lot of your clients are not there. A lot of your clients have outsourced their marketing or sales onto you. Is your responsibility going to be any different now?
So quickly, the first question I'll answer in simple one line. The first one, it's all important because as investors, like what we do is we built up a package deal. We go to a developer, we pick up a right product because I have an option to pick any developer. I'm not limited with my own brand where I have to sell that product. If it is good or bad, that's the problem. They have to face it. But we go, and the choice of Investors Clinic is always the key, because we pick one of the most beautiful product at a right price. We market it in a very different way, because हम अपने dialogue में बोले तो we pick up a movie like Sholay and we rebrand it, and हम उसे Sholay Returns करके launch करते हैं. That's Investors Clinic. And 99.99% times we are very successful with this kind of a package. So I would say not only the product, the complete package works. Now, coming back to your new question is, so as you know, leaving couple of developers, we mostly do exclusive deals. Exclusive deal where the customer, the developer have 100 to 5,000 units, because the biggest MOU which we have done is of 5,000 units. So we do the complete package. So we, most of the time, we design the product, we design the online campaign, we design everything. And I think I would say that we work somewhere, not exactly the promoter, but as a sales head of that organization. And we package it. And we have an in-house online team, we have an in-house media team, and obviously we take support of your expertise also. But yes, we are dealing in almost all the phases of sales and marketing.
Okay, great. I get that. A quick question before I go to audience questions, unless you guys have something to add, which is very different. I have a very from the heart question, and please be as truthful, because there are people listening and they want to know. What if it was all in your hands for the industry, and being a captain in the industry, if you were given charge, what will you change about the industry? Post-COVID, post-lockdown, what is that one thing? And I'm going to come to each one of you that if you had the industry in your hands, you had a complete control over it, you were probably the chosen captain to take you to the other end of COVID and say, let us survive or let us do well. And please, help us, Soham or Sunil or Kulwan or whatever it be. What will you say? And I'm going to start this question with Nitin. Nitin, if you were that person, what would you say to the industry? What do they need to do? And very crisp and very, very sharp-shooted, please.
There's no one thing. There are many things I would say. So
the most important one, sir.
I think today the taxations and everything is something which one has to really look into.
Taxation.
Tax. So, probably be it GST tax, be it stamp duty, be it, all other taxes which are levied on developers, all on the customers. If something can be looked into it, I'm sure customers will be more.
So you would say unite, go to the government, talk about this, get a resolution. That's your first agenda and the most important agenda, right? Correct. Fantastic. Okay, Soham, if you were the champion of the industry and you were asked, please help us, get us from the other side, safe and sound, surviving, what would you say to the industry, that one thing?
I think the best way to solve the current solution is to look at the demand side. So like Nitin rightly said, look at things that can trigger demand. Maybe a GST waiver, a stamp duty waiver for a short window, maybe interest deductibility against home loans, but anything that will bring demand back to the market. So I'll stick to boosting the demand side in whatever format possible. Maybe statutory. I think what's in the government's control is only statutory, and what is the developer's control is the supply side. So I'll look to the demand side.
Okay. Got it, Soham. Sunil, the same question to you.
I think I agree with what Soham had to say. Look for the support from the government as far as the incentives is concerned for this sector. The government has already done in terms of reducing the stamp duty, but yes, we on multiple forums have asked the government whether we can look at a revised reduction on the GST for a certain period of time. So there are certain financial aids which can be rolled out to the sector so that they can come out of this. That is what the industry asks is, but at the same time, from a consumer perspective, I would expect the industry to be more sympathetic towards the customer in today's time, and bring in the transformation in the form of digital into their way of selling. So these are the two things. Which,
okay, got that, Mr. Katyal. Your turn, please. If you were the champion, what would you say to the industry? What will you want to do, that one thing?
It's like Ek Din Ka Pradhan Mantri Nayak movie. So I would say that the government have to play an important role, because the financial, the liquidity in the business is nowhere. The government announces a fund called a SIC fund, where the projects which is stuck and people have to just apply for it. There is no, single way to get it, and it is just a story. There's a long way to go. So government have to, get into a situation where they have to subsidize a lot of things. And if they've launched a fund kind of a thing, they have to go and see seriously the real need of the people is getting, they are getting that money or not. They are not. Because of that, there's a default in the deliveries also. I think government have to get into it.
Okay, got it. Kulwanji.
Two things. I mean, I think rightly said by Soham. One, we probably I would go to government and ask. I mean, put it in a priority sector funding. I mean, like your farm loans, which are available at as low as 3.5% when you go and buy a tractor. I mean, those are the kind of rate of interest you have to pay if you're buying a farm equipment. And this is the most important part of the economy, which gives such an impetus to the GDP. So that's one, bringing down the home loan rate. Second part is bringing down the cost of the product in terms of taxes, in terms of GST, in terms of stamp duty, other statutory payments which we make to the government. There is a need that those costs also needs to be brought down. And third, the time taken by the government in giving the approval, which takes away a lot of our resources.
I get it. So representation from the industry to the government, as a lot of others said as well. Okay, what about you, Arvind? The last one standing out there, and I really wanted to ask this to you because you've seen all sides. You've seen what happens on the lower side of it, the higher side of it, etc. What do you think that one thing that you will do for the industry or tell them to do?
Yeah, look, a lot of my co-panelists have talked about our asks from the government. I believe we'll be in a queue, and there'll be several people ahead of us with probably more legitimate asks from the government.
Exactly. Yes.
So I'd rather focus on what can we do as an industry and to me, the biggest gap today is building the trust with just the overall trust that the customer has in the category and in the suppliers of the category. There is a trust deficit, and we as an industry need to get our heads around that and bridge that trust deficit.
Arvind, I'm, while I shouldn't have a view, but I do, and I do believe that that's one of the things that I've seen in my cross-category experiences where probably the industry lacks. And if it comes to only doing for yourself, if I take this question forward, and Arvind, first to you, and then anybody else who wants to get in there, do we believe we as an industry are right now in a certain spot because there is also a clear trust deficit that the customer has had because of the experiences, the real life experiences with the industry? I'm not talking about any one particular player, doesn't matter. But because of that, is there something like that?
I think very clearly so. And look, a lot of the earlier comments were about, why did customer confidence increase after ERA? Because they got a certain regulatory surety that the product will be delivered. And our history is littered with bad examples. So we can't run away from that. And all of us need to do some soul searching and figure out how we're going to turn that story around.
Is that where the role of the marketing person can get in, both as an individual company as well as the overall real estate industry? Anybody wants to speak on that? I'm kind of now opening these kind of questions to everybody, and we'll have more audience questions coming up as well. Anyone of you?
I'll just take that, Manish,
Yeah.
During this time, the customers are actually watching each brands and how their response has been to this entire pandemic. So there is the companies who are basically helping out different sector of the society and doing a lot on the CSR activity should continue to do that, because consumers are watching us and they are going to test that during the difficult times, how was the brands respond to the society as such.
Okay, great. Coming to, and before we kind of do summations on this one, I wanted to take a few audience questions, and here I'm requesting my colleague Farhan to come in. Farhan, could you come in and show yourself and request the audiences the questions that you would want them to take, and probably unmute that particular person and ask those questions from whoever they want to ask? Could you help me in that, please?
Sure. Guys, whoever wants to ask any particular question to specific panelists, they can raise their hand from the panel below. I will unmute you to talk, and you can ask specific questions to specific panelists. Request everybody to make it very crisp as a question so that they are not long enough.
So just a little point of caution. A lot of times people want to express their own views and not ask questions. Here the question should be a question and not a statement. A small question, short question, straight question. Thank you so much. Go on, Farhan, please.
Mr. Zafar Hussain, I'm allowing you to talk. Please ask your question.
Go on, Mr. Hussain, please ask. Mr. Hussain is quiet.
Yeah, we're not able to hear him. Mr.
Take somebody else.
Yeah. Mr. Jain, I'm allowing you to talk. Please ask question.
Mr. Ajay Jain, are you there? He's muted. Farhan, this is not working. So do you want to pick up questions that are already there and then ask on their behalf? That will be better.
I think a lot of questions are there on Q&A. I think we can pick up from there.
So one of the questions that came, I think, from Monu was something that came in last time also. A lot of people offering this 1090, a lot of schemes, so-called. Can they even survive?
Hello, sir. How are you, Ajay Jain?
Ajay ji, just wait, please. Hold on. We'll come back to you. Just hold on. These 1090 schemes, these schemes of zeros, will they make the industry survive or even more sick? Where are we going? Anybody of the panelists? Soham, you want to take this one up? I know you have a view.
I think there's limited flexibility today with the 1090 because NHB doesn't allow 1090 for housing finance companies or NBFCs. So now subvention is restricted to banks, and banks during this COVID period are growing selective with respect to sanctioning these kind of subvention schemes. So the only the 1090 that's left in terms of under construction properties where the developer provides the subvention. And when the developer provides a subvention, it's difficult to get financial closure with 10%. That's my answer to that. I think there'll be a lot of acceleration towards ready inventory where developers are providing subvention schemes and giving customers to pay or giving customers time to pay, after they move in and taking the bank in terms of subvention. Banks are more comfortable doing that.
Okay, we have time for just two questions. Amit Jain is there. Sorry, Kulwanji, you were saying something.
So
Sunny. Sorry. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
No. So I was only answering whether such kind of schemes is going to be helping us to survive or make the industry further sick. I mean, we at Central Park have taken this call, and I have seen this. I mean, going by such kind of schemes, it can solve the problem temporarily, but at the same time, it kind of brings in a very, very spiraling effect to the business, and we would like to kind of stay away from offering such kind of schemes, right? Because then probably customer might, at this point of time, can end up booking a unit or apartment with us. But 3 years, 4 years down the line, when it's ready for possession, I think then it's a different story. And unless the price goes up, we have seen customer do not come, and make the payments. So then the problem actually spirals up.
I tend to agree with Kulwanji. There's no point offering a call option to the customer.
Yeah.
Okay, get that. Ajay Jain, please ask your question now. Unmute yourself quickly. Please.
Yes, sir. Sir, good evening. मेरा सनी जी से क्वेश्चन है कि अभी सर जो काफी रिटेलर्स शोरूम वगैरह खाली कर रहे हैं और काफी ऑफिसेज खाली हो रहे हैं ड्यू टू मतलब वर्क फ्रॉम होम, तो फोर्स मेजर के लिए आप कुछ बताएंगे? जो क्लोज होता है फोर्स मेजर का, वो एप्लीकेबल है क्या?
So it is a new thing, and just to update you, we are also developing a mall called Boulevard Walk, and so we put this thing in the agreement of force measure of COVID-19 also. But yes, it will be there will be a benefit to the retailer who will run a shop. There will be a discount on the rentals, obviously. But in a long run, I think these mall and multiplexes, they will take a dent for almost 5, 6, 7 months. But offices, I would say maybe, again, 4 to 5, 6 months maximum, but it will come back by, 2021, it will be on a normal trend.
Right. Okay, a last question I've got here and there, so I'm going to quickly ask that. Does anyone of you think that there's going to be a very significant change in the NRI buying pattern? And do you believe that there is a strategy that's good enough to tame that? If there
Yeah,
is,
we are doing that already. So we did a beautiful webinar for all the international customers. So we are targeting, because we have a branch in Dubai and Qatar, and you know the oil prices and the situation there. So that is helping us a lot.
okay,
And secondly, the investment part. So in India, obviously you have some beautiful pre-rented options available, and that is also doing pretty well for us.
okay, Arvind, quickly coming to you. Given the brand that you have, and given that it should help, does NRI buying help you anymore? Is it changing? Are there any trends that you're noticing?
Um, Candidly, too early to call any trends. I do think that a combination of the rupee depreciating will make kind of inflows more attractive, and the lower interest rates in India. That combination should aid NRIs buying property in India, but honestly, too early to tell.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the last question of today's session because we'll be soon running out of time. And more questions can be asked from the panel directly. They can type down if you want their answers right here and then. But this is a question to everybody, all my August company out here in the panel. Do you believe that the role of marketing per se will increase, decrease, or change substantially in the next 6 months for any real estate developer? I'm coming to Sunny. Sunny, do you think it's going to be very, very different? Is it going to be increasing, decreasing? What?
So I don't think so. It will increase. Why? Because newspaper ads, which is like the most costliest thing, which we are famous for also as investors today. That will reduce. The outdoor media will reduce, and online, I would not say that it will go and shoot up like that. But yes, if I say the cost per lead for my newspaper ad is almost 10,000 or sometimes 20,000 also if customer doesn't respond to it. And I think online is a right medium.
Actually,
So
Sinebhai,
it will
I
not
wanted to
increase
ask a
that
macro
much.
question only. On the micro front, yes, we have also come out with estimates. Our belief is that in 2021, digital will actually take over newspaper advertising. And yes, cost per leads will go up substantially, even in digital. But I get your point. Kulwant Bhai, Kulwant sir, what is your view? Marketing as a concept, will it have a better efficacy?
No, so
Will it be more important?
but I would say since the need has changed or the behavior has changed, the marketing will adapt to it. I mean, nothing. I mean, and we have seen times, when marketing adapt to the new conditions every time when we have budget, coming on. So marketing department goes largely to the pink papers. But now, so we do adapt at times, and I think this is a different kind of time. And marketing will adapt to it, and nothing is changing, however, as far as the role is concerned.
Absolutely got it. Arvind, your time. Will it change? Marketing, will it be
Right.
more important, less important, or very different?
Yeah, I don't think it will be more or less important because both in a frothy market as well as in a down cycle, marketing has a very pivotal role to play in terms of in a frothy market to break from the clutter, in a down market to actually grab attention. So I don't think the central role that marketing plays will change. If anything, I think the big elephant in the room is construction operations, and how do we do that with the absence of labor? But that's a topic for another panel.
That's true. You need something for the other one that you're going to. Nitin, your view, please.
I don't think there will be a drastic change. I agree with others. So I don't think there will be a drastic change.
Got it. Soham, yours. Soham, you're on mute.
Yeah. Just like Arvind said, I think marketing's always been important. But having said that, marketing in terms of its essence, the form and shape it takes, change is the only constant. That's going to move. That's going to change. Obviously, the buying experience is going to become more digital. Like Sunny Bhai rightly said, that newspapers and print are going to take less importance. So there will be these dynamic changes, and we'll see them sort of pan out over the next 6 months. Quite excited to wait and watch and see how things pan out and react accordingly.
Got it. So, Sunil, in our next agency client meeting that we have, will you be talking more passionately on the marketing and communication front? I know your answer, but I'm still asking that to you. Or will it be more sales oriented? Or I mean, where's your attention going to be? Is it more towards marketing that people should look at?
Yes, I feel that it is more towards the marketing, and it's not about whether it is going to have increased budgets. I think there's going to be reallocations of the budget and how companies are looking at, and probably the spend towards the media would be where the consumption patterns are seen or where the consumers are seen. So I agree with the panel that a lot of these conventional activities of print, outdoor radio, which is the ATL form kind of marketing spend, is going to get reduced. But at the same time, I would like to utilize that opportunity to communicate that on the digital front. So it's more of to do optimization of the funds, what we have in hand.
Optimization, efficiency, a lot of it has been talked in today's two panels. Ladies and gentlemen, with this very shortly, I'm going to bring to an end the second panel for the day. We've had a very interesting day. Initially, we had the understanding of efficacy of marketing in the overall scheme of things, and then we got into depth of how marketing role is going to change in this panel. I really want to thank all the panelists, the fantastic panelists, very vocal, very straightforward. Nitin, Soham, Sunil, Arvind, Sunny, Kulwanji, all of you, thank you so much for having contributed to this immense amount of discussion that we've had. We'll continue more discussions under Clay Conversations, a set of communication, webinar communication brand that we've set up in these days. Alchemist is looking forward to more conversations with you, audiences who have been here. Fantastic audiences, great questions and great answers from the panelists. Thank you so much for being here, giving your important time to us. We really look forward to the next interaction. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
We will also be floating the salient points of this later for the audiences and sending them out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.